Greetings from San Francisco. Today we're going to talk about positioning the cello when you sit and about the use of an end pin, bent, or string. And I want to start by talking about the angle of the cello. For many years people played the cello very straight up and down with a very, very low end pin. And it provided a nice, easy access of the bow to the A string, especially on the upper side, and also very solid up and down with the left hand. Recently, cellists have come up a little bit more, and especially with the advent of the tortillé end pin, which was popularized so much by Rostropovich, from whom I learned to play with the bent end pin. Cellists have become more elevated with the cello. It does change the sound of the cello to a little drier, perhaps a little thinner, but eventually I think a more projecting sound, and there are certain other advantages. Number one, of course, is the ability of the bow to lie on the string more easily by using the weight of the arm, and also the accessibility of the upper positions of the hand can go pretty much straight in front of you, more like a piano keyboard, and also exert the downward weight of the arm on the upper positions. Of course, one doesn't have that problem in the lower positions because there's some possibility of squeezing with the thumb, but up here, of course, it's all vertical pressure downward on the fingerboard. One thing that's especially important, I think, for cellists whose arms are not very, very long, is to bring the A string at the tip into a more accessible position. And you'll notice that if I change the angle of the cello to more forward, I have to reach out much further in order to be able to do this. As the angle of the cello comes back, this point is pulled more towards me, and it's much easier and much more relaxed to be able to play on the tip, on the A and D strings. But what's important in terms of finding the right angle is comfort and security with the legs and the knees. You do want to grip the cello with the knees so that it's stable. And for that reason, I many times will start to find the correct position for whatever chair I'm sitting on by gripping the cello with the knees, finding a comfortable place, and then lowering the end pin in order to support the cello. I am a cellist who's more comfortable on lower chairs, because when you sit on a lower chair, your knees seem to stick out farther, and I can get more of an angle here with the cello. The cello can be higher, and I can still grab it with my knees. You'll see if I take the pillow underneath, or even if I begin to stand up, that the knee point here starts to go this way. So, if I'm on a higher chair like this, my knees don't stick out quite as far, and I can't get the angle of the cello that I used to. I have to have it more vertical, and so then that makes me more uncomfortable because I don't have this advantage anymore, and I don't have the accessibility of the upper position. So I prefer to find a lower chair. And once again, when we talk about a bent end pin or a long end pin, this, by the way, is the stall hammer variety that just comes out straight, and you can use it straight like this, or you can pull it all the way out and it flips down to become a bent pin. I prefer the angle because of the reasons I mentioned with the bow and the left-hand accessibility, but it's important to remember that it's not just about putting the cello up high. If I put the cello up too high, it comes out of the range of my knees. This comes too high. This becomes a little bit out of range back here, and also the upper positions I have to reach up higher in order to press down. So the idea is not to make the cello higher, more like this, for example, but simply to get the angle of the cello changed from being more vertical to more horizontal. So find the right position, whether you use straight or bent pin, that you can get your knees on the cello securely, but also find a position that has enough angle that you can play comfortably on the tip of the bow without raising the arm very high, without feeling you're reaching this way, and so that the upper positions feel as accessible and as comfortable as the lower positions.